my great honor to introduce our keynote speaker, American Gold Star mother, Vonda Rogers. Vonda is an alum of GCMS, Gibson City High School. She is a Greyhound, graduating in 1984, and her parents, Russ and Diane Coulter, still reside in Gibson City. Please give a warm welcome for Vonda Rogers.
Thank you. I woke up this morning with a little laryngitis. I think Satan caught wind that this place is absolutely covered in prayer today. So if we can keep these rowdy veterans down in the front, I think we'll be okay. Thank you for inviting me today to join this wonderful celebration. As he mentioned, I went to school here. It looked a little bit different. When I was here, if you walked out the doors, you went outside, and now I see when you walk out the doors, you're going to a whole new place. But I'm filled with honor to be invited to come back here. After graduation, I went to Illinois State University over in Bloomington, met my husband Kevin, and we now have 4 children. Emily is 25, she works at State Farm with Kevin and I. She has a 4-year-old daughter, Tori. Josh is 23, Hannah is 22 and in her senior year at ISU, and then Ashton is in 3rd grade. Now, I'm a proud mama, so I could go on about all of them, but today I'm here specifically to talk about Josh. Now, some of you may understand what I'm talking about, especially I'm going to guess the kids in blue, but Josh loved to dress up in his camo uniform when he was little and crawl around in the grass with his assumption that you couldn't see him. Anybody else done that? Yeah, I thought so. He loved to do that. We've been playing Army in our house for a long time. As he got a little older, I'll look to the kids in red because all he wanted for birthdays was Nerf guns. I think I've picked up about 1 million of those little blue Nerf gun bullets from my house in my yard. Then he got older and I looked to the kids in white because he started playing a game called Call of Duty. I think before I let him play a game called Call of Duty. And he loved football. So when Josh was in high school at Normal Community, he was a football player. He did not enjoy the success that I know your team is enjoying right now, so good luck in your game tomorrow. At about that time, as he went into his senior year, he had made the decision to join the Army after graduation. And in fall 2013, he entered basic training for the Army. Now, that's a hard time on a mama because they take their phones away. And it's kind of crazy because we've been telling them to get off their phones for 4 years, and suddenly they go to basic training and they don't have a phone, and that's not easy. So while they're at basic training, and that's where we send our sons and daughters to learn how to be warriors. They teach them how to fire a gun. They teach them how to do lots and lots of exercise. And most importantly, they teach them how to listen to directions. After he graduated from basic training, he went on to airborne school. You see, Josh's dream was to be a ranger. It's a very elite group within the U.S. Army. And to do that, he had to pass airborne school. So he learned how to jump out of airplanes. Interestingly enough, though, it's not like what you see on TV where you put your parachute on and you jump out of an airplane. What they do instead is they hook themselves to a rope, and as they get dropped out of the helicopter, their parachute automatically opens. Again, not something a mama wants to hear, but he graduated. He did just fine in that. He went on to the Ranger Assessment and Selection Program where he graduated successfully, and he joined the 375 Rangers at Fort Benning. Then he got deployed. His first deployment was to Afghanistan. And what deploy means is you leave this country and you go to another country where we have soldiers and you help them. Josh went to Afghanistan, and I looked it up at the time. It takes a full day to get to Afghanistan from here. And for all of those who can't imagine how long that is, it's 48 episodes of SpongeBob. And I think That's about how long it felt. He went to a country of Afghanistan. It's about the size of the state of Texas. It has about the same number of people in it. It looks different, and it's definitely run different. They don't have a president like we do. They instead have a terrorist group that's leading their country right now. The war that Josh fought in started on September 11th, 2001. Now, if you're old enough, you might remember back to when 4 passenger jets were hijacked. If you're not old enough, you've probably heard stories about the Twin Towers falling in New York City. We also had a plane that hit the Pentagon and a 4th plane that went down because the passengers took the terrorists down. But in those 9/11 attacks, we had about 3,000 people die at the hands of just 19 terrorists. That's when this war started that Josh was fighting in. Now, Josh went to Afghanistan, he got deployed, and he convinced me that it was totally boring. He said, all we do is clean, clean, clean. Then we exercise or do PT, like they call it in the Army. And we take apart our guns and we clean them and we put them back together. And we take apart our guns, we clean them and we put them back together. I believed him. Obviously, there was a little more going on than that. When he came back to Fort Benning after that first deployment, he went to Ranger School. It's a very tough 3-month school that after graduation allowed him to be a full Ranger. At that time then, he got a team and he went on his next 2 deployments to Afghanistan. Now, excuse me, in April of this year while fighting in Afghanistan, Josh was killed in what has been described to me as the most intense firefight of the last 200 fought there. And what that means is Josh is in heaven. But I bet a lot of us know people in heaven, and I have an idea that some of them have maybe met Josh. But today we are not here to feel sorry for Josh. He would hate that. Like every veteran here today, he understood the risk of joining the military, and he knew that it meant separation from his family, hardship, living in adverse conditions, and this spoken exposure to danger. And though we rarely talked about it, that risk was balanced with pride in serving his country, his affinity to his chosen branch, and his loyalty to his brothers in arms. We are not here to feel sorry for Josh. He was very good at his job. He was a warrior. We're not here to feel sorry for me either. I supported my son's decision to join the Army, and I would do it again. Josh knew his purpose in life, and he was living out his dreams. With Josh's death, we became a Gold Star family. Now, I have to admit that until 6 months ago, I did not have any idea what a Gold Star family was. I think I read it in a pamphlet one time, and it's my understanding that in World War I, families would hang service flags in their windows. Blue stars for those soldiers that were deployed and serving our country. The blue stars would be changed to gold if there was a death, and it would signify to the community the price that that family had paid in their fight for freedom. Apparently, I missed every movie with Gold Star families mentioned in it, and I ignored any media that referred to the last Sunday in September as Gold Star Mother's Day. Yet here I stand because I wear that title, and I wear it proudly. Late in the evening of April 26th of this year, I went to bed early, just tired from everyday life. My husband woke me up with the words, "There are 2 military people at our door, and you don't need a pamphlet for that one." That one I had seen in the movies. And as we crept down those stairs, I went up to the girl and I said, "Just tell me." And she said, "We should probably sit down." And I said, "No, just tell me." And what I heard her say, among many words spoken, was, "Your son, Sergeant Joshua Patrick Rogers, was killed in action." All I could think of was, no, not my baby boy. It's boring over there. How could this happen? Not my baby boy. And then I heard from the chaplain, "Can we pray with you?" We were immediately surrounded by family and friends. We were talking to people on Josh's team to try and understand what had happened, and we welcomed our casualty assistance officer, Sergeant Nick Clemens, into our heart and into our home. Sergeant Nick, as we call him, patiently explained to us every step of the way. He held us up when we couldn't stand, and he protected us when we felt vulnerable. 32 hours later, Sergeant Nick accompanied us to Dover Air Force Base to observe our son being brought home from Germany. And there we met our Ranger liaison, Sergeant Mark Wells, who also quickly became part of our family. The Army took very good care of us. We met General Tobo, other leaders of our country. Each one of them held us and cried with us. The country had lost a hero, and we had lost our son. And again I heard, "May we pray with you?" We learned that Josh's team had been assigned to a critical mission to find and take down the leader of ISIS-K. This is in the counter-ISIS-K offensive. Now these are very evil people. Think like the biggest bullies on the planet. This was near the location where we dropped the mother of all bombs in March. And our Rangers were well prepared, they were well equipped, and they were ready for battle. I was assured by Josh's Ranger brothers that the plans were good. The bird that Josh was on was not able to land, and so they fast-roped into complete darkness. They dropped a rope out of the helicopter and they slid down that rope with all of their equipment. Josh had a 40-foot ladder strapped to his back, and they were under enemy fire. In that drop, Josh was hit in the leg, radioed one of his team members and said, "I think I've been shot." And he said back, "How do you not know if you've been shot?" Josh said, "Well, I don't know." And his team member said, "Well, we're going to have to keep going." And Josh made a critical decision. While he could have just waited for someone to come help him, he tied a tourniquet on his leg and he moved forward with his men. Now, at some point in that battle, Josh was mortally wounded. But I don't believe he felt the pain. I kind of think that when he looked up and saw the gates of heaven, he was a little bit frustrated that he had to leave his guys, because he would have hated to leave his guys. But to be in the arms of Jesus and away from the evil that he was fighting must have been an incredible experience. Now, while I can't speak for all Gold Star families, I have certainly talked to several, and we share many common beliefs. We believe that our sons and daughters understood the risk, and they were willing to assume that risk to fight against evil. We believe they were fighting for global freedom. The war in Afghanistan is not against Afghanistan. It's fought in Afghanistan, and that is a very big difference. Only 1% of the Americans today volunteer to fight in our armed services. And yet terrorism is rampant. Last year alone, over 25,000 people were killed globally by terrorists. Now, I know Josh is giving me some heavily eye rolls right about now because we're making such a fuss about his heroism. But I also know he's smiling a little bit and how proud I am. Also, a little bit about that word lost. It minimizes the sacrifice. It implies helpless, directionless, and wandering. And Josh, and every other person who honorably serves in our military, knows and accepts that risk, but does it anyway. They are strong, smart, talented, and focused. The men and women I've met are filled with honor and pride. I simply don't believe that one special day is enough. I believe that every day should belong to our military. I am fiercely patriotic. I wear my I Support Our Military shirt. I wear my shirt in Josh's honor. I'm the shusher at events where we're trying to sing the national anthem and people are whispering. That's me. And most importantly, I have a big hug, a handshake, and a thank you anytime I see someone in uniform. I've learned by talking to people that there are a lot of different reasons to join and serve. It could be the search for adventure, a desire to see the world, or the need for a steady job. And what I've discovered, though, is underneath all that, a rich vein of patriotism and a healthy dose of desire to serve and protect. And although rarely talked about, each one knows the risks. Men and women relinquish their freedom to defend ours. They miss children's birthdays, school concerts, and other activities that unfortunately I sometimes see as a burden. I've been guilty of saying not another baseball game this week, and then calling down before Benning and talking to Chris to hear him say, I've only been to 2 baseball games this season. What I've learned from talking to soldiers is they are collectively the most humble people I have ever met. I hear consistently, this is just my job, it's just what I do, and you don't have to thank me. But I do. I have to thank you. I have to thank you for standing together and for taking an oath for our country and for each other. I thank Josh's Ranger brothers because the first words they said to me were, you will never be alone. I promised Josh I will take care of you. Thank you to those who have made the decision to join. We support you and we believe in your cause. However, I do have to apologize for not understanding that we're actively at war. I became too comfortable in my life. In 2016, there were over 13 terrorist attacks in the country of Afghanistan alone. The fight is real. Now, I do my best to get back down to Fort Benning, where Josh was stationed, every few months just to simply hug their necks. I want to assure them that I am very proud of each one of them, and I want to thank them for doing life with Josh, because they were the reason that he was not afraid to do what he wanted to do. They are living examples of what it means to have someone's back, to be a team, and to be tighter than family. They did not leave my son on the battlefield that night. They carefully got him back on the bird to safety and then continued on successfully completing their mission, a fight that continues still today. Today is about honoring our veterans. To stop what we usually do and focus on the men and women that set their personal freedom aside for us. You showed up. Thank you. You made the personal choice because you wanted to or because you were asked to. Thank you. You set aside your personal freedom and you fought for me, my parents, my grandparents, and my children. You set an example to everyone of what assuming responsibility really means. You taught us what honor looks like, and I thank you. I cannot even imagine the pain you endured. Physical pain in horrible conditions, emotional pain leaving your family behind, spiritual pain in losing buddies on the battlefield. Again, I remind Josh's friends that you did not lose him, that we know exactly where he is and we will see him again one day. I remind them that things happen in war despite our preparedness, that missteps happen, that war is a horrible thing, but it's not anyone's fault. And I beg them to see that it should not have been them. I have held the bravest, strongest men in our country in my arms. while they apologized to me through tears that it should have been them? Absolutely not. While we do not understand God's plans and we may not like them, we cannot judge them as wrong or assume he made a mistake. I do not believe that Josh had to die that night, but I know that God has a magnificent plan, and he will use Josh's death for his glory. And I am here to thank you for your service and to assure you that despite how you may have been treated when you came home, what you invested in our country was highly valuable. You were heroes to my son. He was a little boy dressed up in army fatigues because he wanted to be you. One day, he wanted to be as brave as the army guys. But make no mistake, Josh is not a hero because he was carried out of a war in Afghanistan. And he was not a hero because he stepped on a battlefield. He was a hero because he showed up on the first day of basic training, scared but determined to make this world a better place. He was living out the soldier's creed. He is an American soldier. He is a warrior and a member of a team. He served the people of the United States and lived the Army values. He always placed the mission first. He never accepted defeat. He never quit. He never left a fallen comrade. He was disciplined, physically and mentally tough, trained and proficient in warrior tasks and drills. He always maintained his arms, his equipment, and himself. He was an expert and a professional. He stood ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the enemies of the United States in close combat. He was a guardian of freedom and the American life. He is an American soldier, and like you, he is a hero. We are here to learn from Josh, to be reminded that it's important to show up for hard things. We are in a war on terror, and there are men and women that need our support. To the rest of us, the ones that haven't served, may I ask each of you to show your patriotism, to be proud of our country and the safety and security that we provide around the world. I ask that you pray for those who are actively serving and that you thank those that have served. Over 6,000 men and women have offered the ultimate sacrifice on the war on terror. We cannot forget, this is not a game or a history lesson. A high price has been paid for our freedom, and we now need to act responsibly with that. Selfishly, I ask that you continue to say Josh's name, that you tell his story, that although Josh may physically be gone, his presence on earth will remain forever near. His soft-spoken words will continue to be my daily motivation. Josh was and forever will be a warrior, tenacious, humble, determined, and supportive. He was a true inspiration to everyone who knew him. And for those of you that haven't met him, I hope to introduce you one day. I'll be the one holding him in heaven. Finally, I ask that you please lift my family up in prayer as we continue to fight for the life Josh wants us to have. Thank you.